You ever wake up to a day you know is about to go sideways before your feet even hit the floor? That was me, standing in my robe, staring down three black SUV, kicking up gravel in my driveway, dogs howling like they smelled a tornado coming. No coffee, no warning, just the HOA president, Evelyn Greeley, in a power suit that probably cost more than my truck, flanked by two goons and a jittery lawyer clutching a clipboard like it was a weapon. We're here to notify you your property's been seized under Article 12. B, she says, all business, while the guy with the clipboard hands me some nonsense paperwork with urgent stamped in red. Like this was a scene out of a cheap crime show. I laughed honestly because what else do you do? Then she tells me they'll be back in 48 hours with a demo crew and I should clear out anything I care about. That's when I realize these people actually think this is going to work. You ever have a moment where your past life just comes roaring back? I stood there staring at my own front porch, remembering building this place with my bare hands, the sweat the late nights, the pride that came with every nail. I spent years in infrastructure defense, running point on federal disaster teams, so while Evelyn thought she was scaring some soft retiree, she had no idea she had just declared war on the wrong guy. I shut the door, locked it, and went straight to the basement, pulled out a steel case tucked beneath my workbench inside all the files and records from my days on the government payroll, including one letter that had enough authority to make any local ordinance look like a grocery list. Let me back up a sec. When I bought this land, I opted out of HOA control. I made sure of it, had it written into every deed, every county record. So when I dug through public filings and found some recent paperwork saying I'd joined the HOA last year with a signature that wasn't even close to mine, and a notary who'd been dead since before the last Super Bowl, well, that was when things got real interesting. I needed backup, so I called Martha Shields, an old friend and one of the sharpest retired judges you'll ever meet. I show up at her farmhouse, hand her the pile of paperwork, and she just shakes her head and pours another cup of coffee. You know this is fraud, right? She says, and I just shrug. Yeah, I know. So we build our own paper fortress, deed copies, old land surveys, photos of me digging the foundation, satellite images going back years. You name it. Then Martha spots the real kicker: my property's still listed as an emergency federal fallback site, thanks to an old disaster response program I was part of. The HOA would need more than a neighborhood vote and a couple of fake signatures to take me down. They'd need federal approval, and let's just say that's a much bigger mountain to climb. But if you think they backed off, you don't know HOAs. Next thing I know, my mailbox gets knocked down. Violations are plastered all over my truck. Motion lights get smashed, and I spot strangers wandering through my yard with measuring tapes and spray paint. It's all meant to rattle me, so I install more cameras, floodlights, and alarms than Fort Knox. They want to fight in the dark, but I'm about to drag every dirty move they make into the spotlight. And wouldn't you know, the news grabs hold of the story, HOA accused of land grab. Clips of Evelyn losing her mind over wind chimes go viral, and suddenly, neighbors who never gave me the time of day are stopping by to share their own horror stories. A single mom who got fined for the color of her fence. An old guy who got written up for a garden gnome, a couple down the street who got threatened with eviction over a non-compliant mailbox. That's when it really sinks in. It's not just me. This whole thing's about control, and these folks have had enough. Here's where the twist comes in. There's this quiet guy, Roger, lives across from me. Retired mailman, barely says more than a word at a time. One day he hands me a flash drive and mumbles, "You might need this." Turns out he's been quietly recording HOA meetings for years, all legal, just in case. On it hours of Evelyn and her cronies plotting to rezone half the neighborhood and hand it off to a real estate developer, complete with jokes about bulldozing that stubborn veteran's house. Yeah, that happened. I leaked that footage to every news station, HOA watchdog site, and local blog I can find. The neighborhood explodes. The phones don't stop ringing. Meanwhile, Martha moves fast. She files for class action, rounds up affidavits from neighbors who'd been steamrolled for years, and builds a legal case big enough to give the HOA's lawyers a migraine. The court date comes and the scene is pure small-town cinema. Evelyn strutting in lawyer in tow, acting like she's untouchable, while Martha, cool as ice, opens with the dead notary, the fake vote, the satellite photos, and finally, the federal fallback designation that makes every HOA claim worthless. But the cherry on top, that leaked audio from Roger played for the whole room Evelyn caught on tape planning the whole scheme. You could feel the oxygen leave the courtroom. The judge barely says a word, just drops. The gavel freezes. All HOA action refers the case to state and federal investigators and hands me a restraining order against Evelyn and her board. The next day, half the board resigns. Evelyn tries to stage a final act of defiance, showing up at my place with a bulldozer and some hired hands, but the second they see all the fake gas line flags I'd planted, they peel out like the place is haunted. I record everything, send it to the press, and by noon, Evelyn's demolition fail is trending locally. The fallout, neighbors rally in my yard, some with casseroles, some with stories, all just grateful. The reign of HOA terror is over. Evelyn Free Zone signs start popping up, and for the first time in years, people are laughing, grilling, and actually talking to each other again. Martha just smiles, hands me a beer, and says, "Told you we'd win." I don't gloat, just soak in the peace I fought for, the land I built, and the community that finally remembered what it means to stand up to bullies. Now here's the thing. Evelyn's not done, not really. She's out there somewhere blaming her lawyers, filing new complaints, maybe plotting her next move. And that's the question I want to leave you with. How much power should an HOA really have? Where's the line between keeping up a neighborhood and turning it into someone's private kingdom? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share your stories. Let's talk about what justice really looks like when it's your home on the line. Because the truth is, the only way we keep bullies in check is by standing together, shining a light, and making a little noise when they least expect it.